Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Spoon Studio Kitchen, and today we've got Ivan who's going to tell us where he's from and everything about good wine.
Hi Mary, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I think the most important thing is cheers.
Cheers.
That's a good start.
Yes, it is. Definitely, yeah.
So I'm from Solovino.
Yes.
We're a wine importer distributor.
Uh-huh.
We've been established since 2017.
Oh, wow.
We started primarily with Argentinian wines. That's our main focus.
Okay.
Mostly because my wife is Argentinian. So she said, you must only have Argentinian wines. Eventually we got her around it. We decided, let's try some other wines as well. So we import from everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
We obviously supply Green Spoon.
Yes, you do.
And we distribute all over Kenya.
Ah, fantastic. So can you tell us more about some examples of wines that you supply us?
We have quite a few ranges, but we like to try new things, new varietals, not always just Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinotage, Shiraz.
Yeah.
We try wines with funky labels.
Oh, nice.
So we've got a brand called Old Road Wine, which has nice stories about South African wines and traditionally how the wine sellers would move products around the market. One is called Spotted Hound, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
So nice, vibrant young brands.
Okay.
Some of the other brands we do are very much focused on sustainability, organic farming, viticulture. One of those is Emiliana from Chile. It's the biggest organic, sustainable vineyard in the world.
Oh, wow.
And one of the world's most admired brands.
Yeah.
Carbon Net Zero, 2014.
Okay.
So what we mean by organic vegan is, beautifully crafted wines. You get the winemaker and the skill of the vineyard without adding too many sulfites. In fact, generally very little.
Yeah.
And just natural products.
Okay.
So we've got Old Road Wine, Emiliana, Henners, which is a very well-known English sparkling wine.
Okay.
And I think we'll touch more on that later.
Yes.
And then we have obviously Argentinian wines that we supply Green Spoon, particularly Malbec and Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
We have a beautiful label wine called Myth of Motunui.
Yes.
I think everyone knows the story of Motunui, or do you know the story of Motunui?
No, I don't know. Sorry,
So
I've drunk it. It's nice.
So the label's very pretty.
Okay.
And it's the mythical home of Moana.
Ah.
You know the cartoon? I haven't watched it all.
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
my daughter's watched more than me. But.
Yeah.
So it's actually from just parts of Chile,
Okay.
and it's on the same parallel as New Zealand. So it has a style that the winemaker made to make it similar to New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So crisp, tropical, aromatic.
Ah, fantastic.
So I've gone a long way answering your question, but we try and do new wines, new styles, beautiful labels, well-made organic wines.
Yeah, and when you say new wines, can you stock them up? The way people put them up and drink them way later, because apparently it adds the value, or these ones are not to be stored?
Let me say that wine should be drunk when you're thirsty.
Okay, we're obviously thirsty,
But
that's the point. Yeah.
But actually 95% of wines are made to be drunk within 2 to 3 years of vintage.
Of vintage. Okay.
Yeah. So it's difficult to know which wines to lay down.
Yes, exactly.
The winemaker would generally tell you that it might have 10 years ability to age.
Yeah.
Certain wine styles age better than others. So for white wines, Rieslings and Sauternes, you can lay them down for a good period of 10, 15, 20 plus years. Ports, for example, you can lay down for 40 years.
Wow.
And then there's obviously some very well-made Bordeaux which have a lot of character, depth and tannins. They might be able to lay down for 100 years plus.
But for this, you say you'll be told prior, or does it come in the bottle at some place where they tell you, or is it wine buyer's knowledge kind of thing?
Mostly wine buyer's knowledge. Some labels will have on the back. you can say that a good quality wine will be able to lay down for 10 years. Generally, you'll be able to tell by price. If you're buying a 1,000 bob bottle, you're probably not going to lay it down for more than a year or two maximum before you drink it.
Yeah, true. That's not even very good ROI if you're storing a bottle of 1,000 for a couple of years.
No.
Ah, nice.
And the majority of us, we don't have that culture of laying down wines.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because we're all very sociable.
Yes.
And we like to enjoy wine with friends.
Yes.
And with food, and therefore we consume more than we put aside.
Yeah, definitely. I agree that. So like I can see this is a brut. Are they like different ones?
Absolutely, and this is where it's really important, and a lot of consumers don't understand what they're buying.
Yeah.
Especially with wines that have foreign names or foreign meanings or are not clearly defined. So as we mentioned with the making of champagne or English sparkling,
Yes.
there's two fermentation processes. At the end of the second fermentation process, there's a cap of yeast in the top of the bottle where the yeast has died because it's been converting the sugar into alcohol.
Okay.
So you now need to get that yeast out the bottle.
Okay.
So what they do is they freeze the bottle,
Yeah.
and in a process after riddling of the bottle, they knock off the cap,
Okay.
and that cap of dead yeast leaves.
Yes.
But as a result, you haven't got a full quantity of liquid.
Yeah.
So now you have to add what is called a liqueur de dosage or tirage. And that element of adding back into the bottle now determines the final taste of the wine, because it's a mixture of grape plus sugar.
Okay.
Now this is where it becomes interesting and slightly complicated, because every bottle will have a technical sheet to it. This one, for example, has a residual sugar left in the bottle of 7 grams per liter, which is not actually much, because some Proseccos might be 15. So your characterization of brut is determined on the sugar level that wine now has, which has been added back in.
Yeah.
So if I had no sugar back into this bottle, it'll have 0 grams of residual sugar. It'll be called brut nature.
Ah,
Then-
now it makes sense because you see that labeled on bottles.
So sometimes you get brut nature, it means it's bone dry.
Okay.
Bone dry, crisp, almost tingly.
Yeah.
Then you get extra brut,
Yeah.
then you get brut,
Yeah.
then you get extra dry,
Okay.
then demi-sec, and now you're moving into your sweets.
Too sweet. Ah.
Now, the confusion is that people say, oh, I like dry wine, I prefer it to brut, but they're thinking they're buying something with a drier mouthfeel, but they're actually buying something sweeter.
So this is the hardest.
So this is the less sugar, while it's extra dry, has more sugar in it.
Ah, nice.
And more sugar means mouthfeel, sweeter style of wine. This is the pitfall, sometimes people not understanding what each label means. But this would be your typical level of sweetness that would attract people with, the notes are very much pear and pineapple. The classic element of, remember we were talking about the lees and the yeast drying. So that gives almost like a bready note. People who like champagnes have a slight bready note, like brioche.
Oh, yeah.
Now that will be element here because it's the same as a typical buttery, vanilla, typical to champagnes. Now what is different about this is it's typically English, so it has a good background of citrus, almost green apple orchard, which makes it very fresh and zinging and refreshing.
It's very fresh.
So some people might find champagne a little bit heavy, and therefore they drink Prosecco.
Yeah.
Because it's just lighter and juicier. This would be somewhere in between, and you can smell the green apples.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so
Beautiful, yeah. Super refreshing. So it can be drunk as an aperitif.
Yeah.
Obviously very good with seafood.
Yeah.
The main grape is Chardonnay, which is typically has a higher acidity,
Yeah.
which is necessary for the structure of the wine. We talked about aging wine.
Yes.
The structure of acidity is what enables it to age. So you could lay this down for many years to come,
Oh, nice.
and it would still be in good condition.
Okay.
But we want to drink it straight away, so
Yeah.
we would want to match it with something which has slightly weightier food element.
Okay.
Yeah. So any sort of pastas, creamy dishes,
Nice.
chicken salads, pizza.
Uh-huh.
Pizza and prosecco, pizza and champagne is a great match.
It's a great match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And interesting to say that because we've got a pizza in our oven.
There's an oven. There's a pizza here.
There's a pizza here. Yes. Imagine.
Fantastic.
How amazing. So how do you ensure the consistency and quality of your wines?
Well, we do regular tastings, quality control ourselves in our company. I go to professional tastings and seminars to check the quality of certain vintages. Generally, we pick wines that are fairly consistent in their vintage, so there's not too much fluctuation. And that's typically from New World producers, where you have consistency of sunlight, consistency of weather,
Yeah.
less rain, less frost.
Yeah.
Vintages tend to be fairly similar. That aside, once the product is bottled,
Yeah.
we send it to laboratories
Yeah.
and we test the liquid. And every single lot number and every single vintage is certified by a laboratory in France
Okay.
that it conforms to not only international standards but Kenyan standards. So we try and pick wines that are in vogue as well as popular, that are going to match the palate of the consumer, as well as different things. So we'll take a chance on an obscure type of grape or an obscure region. For example, we've just started bringing in Greek wines,
Oh, nice.
which are very crisp, almost Chablis style from France. Very good with seafood.
Oh,
So we experiment a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think your point was very important,
Yeah.
that it's important for the consumer to know that they're getting a well-made product, certified to standard, and there is also a price to pay for that as well. So that adds to the cost once before importing.
of course. So today you brought a very interesting bottle, which I'm already tasting, and it tastes fantastic. Guys,
Thank
trust
you.
me, you should be here.
Cheers.
So yeah, tell us more about the Henners.
So Henners is a well-known English brand of sparkling wine
Yeah.
from East Sussex, very close to the southeastern coast of the UK.
Okay.
It's actually on the same parallel as Champagne. So the soil structure is very similar. There's elements of clay, loam, and chalk, which all add to the aromatics, the strength, and the finesse of the product.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows Champagne.
Yes.
Everybody knows where it's from. It can only be from a particular place in France. So it can't be called Champagne,
Yeah.
but in every essence it is
It
Champagne.
is, yeah.
Because the soil structure is the same as Reims in France. The grapes, which are traditionally used in Champagne, is Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier.
Okay.
So exactly the three grapes are made in this blend.
So it's the same thing.
It's exactly the same structure of wine. Now, the key to making bubbly or champagne is the fermentation process.
Ah, okay.
So when you're making the first cuvée or assemblage, you choose the grapes that you want,
Okay.
and they do a primary fermentation in the bottle. And then, which is unique to champenoise style wines, is it goes through a second fermentation. And that's the second fermentation is in the bottle. So that's the process to make champagne and English sparkling and other styles of bubblies that can't be called champagne. So by essence, it was made with the same grapes, in the same terroir, and with the same process of fermentation as your traditional champagnes, and a lot cheaper than a lot of your champagne names. So it's something we tried.
Yeah.
I think this is the only English sparkling in the market. I don't believe there's any others. So it's quite unique, and quite unique to Greenspoon, actually. I think Greenspoon is the only person that stocks it.
Yeah, guys, you had that. So find it at Green Spoon only.
Another wine I can't forget to mention
Yeah.
is gorgeous MCC Sparkling,
Nice.
which again can't be called champagne, but it's the South African version
Okay.
of champagne, so made in a similar style to Henners. So the branding is Old Road wine, similar to the very funky, lively labels that you have on those bottles for Green Spoon.
Yeah.
But one interesting factor is it's the drink of choice
Yeah.
of the Real Housewives of Nairobi.
Oh, wow.
So for those of you who are watching Showmax, you'll see that beautiful pink bottle, often drunk in that sort of society.
Yes.
But it's very accessible, really good price, beautiful bottle, beautiful style of wine that is perfect for almost any occasion.
Yeah. And how would you say your price range for your wines are, like, is rather?
I think they're well priced.
Yeah.
Most wines between 1,300 shillings to 2,000,
Yeah.
but we do have wines that sell over 15, over 20,000 shillings a bottle.
Yeah.
The collector's items, the items you want to lay down,
Yes.
maybe keep for a special birthday, an 18th or an anniversary, or even, to keep and pass on to your children. So we do have wines of that level as well.
Oh, awesome. So there you have it, guys. The MCC. Check it out. So Ivan, like I told you, we had office-made pizza. One of my colleagues made it. So we're going to have a try with the wine and see how it all goes down.
Fantastic. Thank you. The base is lovely and crunchy.
Yeah,
Nice cheese, nice tender chicken.
of course.
All of these things match very well
Yeah.
with Chardonnay-based sparklings or champagnes. The acidity will clean your palate.
Yeah.
Get ready for the next flavor to come in.
Nice. And guys, remember, you can find all this stuff at Green Spoon.